Okay, welcome to BenKyo group class number 12. Today's topic is going to be trick moves. Trick moves. Okay, so time to learn some trick moves. Actually, I think studying trick moves is actually pretty good, and I am not of the camp of telling you guys not to do trick moves because you can actually learn some really valuable tools from trick moves, specifically the punishments, but also understanding like what kind of results is being counted as tricked, right? Like what's a bad result, what's a good result. Um, so trick move variations, they tend to be even more extreme than just normal Joseki good and bad variations. So you'll get a clearer sense of what's really bad and what's really good for one side or the other. But it just really gives you techniques too. So um, you'll see what I mean later on. Techniques that, might be very memorable for you. In fact, for the purpose of that, let me even skip along to, we're going to actually start here with trick number, which one is it? Yeah, we're going to start with trick number 5. Okay, this is one that I often show people eventually in lessons. It kind of comes up eventually. So we'll start with this one. This one is going to be a really great example of the kind of techniques that once you see them before, you probably wouldn't forget them. And yeah, so it starts off with the 3-4, one space high approach, and the one space low pincer. This pincer can be pretty annoying to face because you feel pressure of black threatening to connect under by playing the attach move here, or just attacking you like this if you play away. So you want to keep black disconnected for sure. And usually the best move to play here is to attach into the corner. So there's many variations here, like black can hane and play like this to create miai to press at A or press at B. That's classic. There's also this jumping away move, or even playing this one directly. Like if white tries to hane to get this kind of good result, actually black can hane back, and white's gonna have a problem. Like if white cuts, black saves it. If white takes the stone, then black takes away the corner. And white doesn't really have any eyes here and is pincered, so not good for white. Uh, yeah, so white plays here and um, has some choices like this after, or if black plays here, then can kick, for example, and just take the corner. But there's also this move, and you guys, some of you might have at least seen this Joseki where white cuts, black extends back, and then white has to find a nice way to sacrifice R17. Yeah. Can we define trick moves? Well, yeah, a trick move is a move that, well, is tricky in terms of its variations. A trick move preys on basically like the basics of another player, the basic go concept and basic go concept that the player has that they would follow that would lead them into getting tricked, basically. And in terms of results, usually a trick move is something that when you foil the trick, it would be really good for you, but that's not always the case actually. Some trick moves are relatively even after you punish them. So, um, yeah. So trick moves might be really not so different from normal moves a lot of the time, honestly. Yeah. So white's gonna look for a way to sacrifice the one stone in the corner here. This is not a trick, but this is a bit of background for normal Joseki. Before I even go forward here, do you guys know any Joseki from here? Like what white should do next? I know a lot of our members would know uh, one or two Joseki for this. There's a pretty good chance that Luke knows, for example, just by matter of being 2K plus. But what do you think? Wedge, yeah. Okay, so wedge. And then from here, yeah, usually A or B. So and I'll skip along because we're focusing on trick moves, but um, when black plays the Atari, in fact, white usually switches to this Atari because if white just connects, there's a chance that black plays here. And in some cases, this will be bad for white, like white can cut here, threatening double Atari. Black has to save this one. White can play here if they have the ladder, and then black has to save this one. Depending on the directional values on the board, this could be bad for white because black got to stick out onto the top side. But it could be okay for white sometimes too, especially if white has the ladder and like if this side is important. But it's black's choice, right? Black could also just play along like this and then let white sacrifice. And then extend. And this would be a different order of moves for the same normal Joseki. And if both players capture ponukis, like so, usually white is preferred since this was black's corner. And white got the corner. So white switches to this move to prevent black from playing this one. And then after black responds, white also saves the one stone, and then black needs to play here to prevent all the cuts. For example, if black fixes this cut, then white could threaten 2 stones and then capture these, which would be bad for black. If black plays here, which is a common mistake actually, white shouldn't force here, but actually first cut here. This is again threatening double Atari because instead of playing the empty triangle, black played here. So threaten double Atari and then just take it. Even if black turns here, still good for white. Very different compared to like if you compare this result with black pushed on the second line and white just extended, you know, compare that to the variation where is it? Yeah, where black sticks out all the way to P17 on the third line. Big difference. So black should fix with the empty triangle, and then white pushes once and forces and then extends. So that's one Joseki, and I'll even share that here. And also black can Atari on the top. White extends once down, even if they're planning to sacrifice. And then black needs to save the 2 stones. So the only way to save these 2 black stones is to Atari and then empty triangle here. And then white has a bit of a crossroads here because depending on some conditions, white could pull these 2 stones out, which is mainly ladder. So for example, if white pushes here, if black, for example, connects here, then if white were to try to go after these black stones, black could ladder like this. If black cannot ladder like this, then of course black is destroyed because black loses all the stones. So yeah. And so there's some variations from there where it becomes a bigger fight. Let's see. Black plays this extend. White saves 2 stones. Black saves the corner. And white Atari's here to get out on the right side. And then black has some choices. Black could choose to push through, just like that, which is actually slightly better for white, usually. But you can always judge these things based on the board, right? It could be that this side is very low value and this side's very high value, then maybe it could be played. Or black fights like this, which is more usual. Yeah. White pushes up once. Black saves the 3 stones in a way that threatens these 2 stones because of the push and cut problem here. So white takes black's liberty away. Oh, I played the wrong one. It should be this one. Yeah. Same thing though. It threatens the stones here. You could technically play this one. It's just after this move, black's continuations are a little weaker. Like you could go here, or you go here, but then white can like keep pushing. So black wouldn't go there, but probably jump or bamboo. But slightly better, you'll see, to go here because then you can make this tiger's mouth. So in fact, I believe I've seen this one before, but this one is the one I know. It seems better because you get to play here now. White's going to force twice here and then switch to helping this side. Black peeps once to prevent white's tiger's mouth. White fixes the shape in some way like this. And then black attacks the top, and white goes out with the knight's move. So that's a pretty long Joseki. I'm just going to share that here. We went through fast, right? Normally, if I was actually doing a proper Joseki class, we would discuss the moves more slowly, but this is a trick move class, so we're going to move on. But I just felt like sharing those, so you guys could just memorize it if you want. Pretty important to know, to be honest. Like, this Joseki up to here, it's very important. And I'll just finish off by sharing the even more common variation. The main variation has white simply taking here, and black just taking as well, and then white Atariing once, and Tenuki. This is the most common Joseki here, so common Joseki. This is generally preferred for white a little bit because white gets sente and black's points are actually not that much. But there is a weakness with the cut later at P15. But actually, and I'll just add this one more knowledge bit because might as well. The cut is actually not that good because black is heavy now with the two stones, and white can basically squeeze this part after. So black's better move is actually this pincer, And the cool thing about this, like imagine if you just push along, you might be giving white quite a bit, right, on the top. But if you pincer here and white tries to break out, then after you make white empty triangle, you can cut now after white has become heavy. So this one would be good for black. So the timing thing, right? You pincer and push once first, then cut. And so white should fix like this, but now black's able to play this very nice connecting over move, which is just a very elegant combination. Correct for black. And once white has fixed this cut, then it starts to become okay to play the end game at S18, which is worth, I believe, more than 10 points. So it's something that as black you wouldn't want to forget about later on in the game. But you also wouldn't want to do it too soon because when white takes, then this cut is completely gone. Yeah. I remember when I was 2Dan, I was playing another 2Dan at this Go club I used to go to way back. The two of us back then, I specifically remember that we were playing this move as black too soon. It's because both of us understood, like both of us already had learned how to calculate the value of some of those second line moves, and we knew that this is really big. So both of us would play this, but actually it wasn't correct. It was too early. Okay, so let's move on, but you guys should memorize those. So the trick here that we're looking at is instead of black playing here, black Atari's this way. Yeah. Okay. So white naturally should extend once to get more, even if they're planning to do a sacrifice or whatever they're planning to do. It doesn't matter, but they should extend. If you don't extend, then like if you just Atari here, black takes, then you have to spend a move to separate, but then white's not getting anything. And if you sacrifice here, then yeah, you could do that. Atari once, maybe two. But after this, these stones are actually connected because black has S17, so there's no disconnection. So white has to spend a move helping the group somehow, but since white doesn't have time to connect, nor is white that strong, then black could even try to attack white, like here or just Tanuki, and it should be better for black. So this would be not quite good enough. So at this moment, black is going to play here or here. So how do you guys think? Let's start with this one. How should white play here? And if you know the answer already, maybe don't say it, but yeah. What do you guys think? So from this point, we're just going to look at trick moves, and this is the first one. So white has two groups. One group stuck in the corner, one group outside. We could, neglect the outside group and focus on helping the inside one, or the opposite, live in the corner. Leave Aji for black to deal with on the outside, or there could be other options too. Any ideas? And you guys can just say like pass if you if you really don't know, if you think it's gonna be wrong. Pass. Well, how about this? What would you play in a real game if it's your turn right now? Even if it's not gonna be good. Suppose you have like 5 seconds to play your move, or 10 seconds. S16. Okay, S16. And then what's next? Capture? This is like the kind of thing where like it's Joseki, okay, the weakness of Joseki, the reason why there's a proverb of learn Joseki and lose 2 stone strength, I believe is how it goes. The only time that's ever true is when people learn a bunch of Joseki, but then they like regurgitate it onto the board completely mindlessly and not basing it on whole board context, like what kind of position do you want for the whole board, right? As well as just not understanding the moves at all. If you don't understand any of the moves and you just memorize, first of all, you're more likely to forget because you're remembering purely from rote. But second is that like when your opponent deviates, then you won't understand the mechanics of the position and the moves and the stones. So you won't know how to respond. But if you study Joseki in a way that might be a lot of memorization, but has some understanding with it, and you're in your games, you're thinking about the whole board before you choose from all the Joseki variations, then it's fine because you're gonna learn so much. You're gonna derive so much from the Joseki shape, tesuji, uh, like assessing results. Like there's so many things that you learn from Joseki, and even for trick moves, this is the case. So that's why I would go ahead and say that most of this stuff that we cover today, honestly, you should memorize it. Memorize it, but try to understand it while you're memorizing. And better yet, use it in real games, even trick moves. I'm not the kind of person that would tell you not to play trick moves. They have this like, what do you call it? This sort of stigma, this idea like, oh, it's a trick, it's rude, it's bad, it's no, that's I don't think so. That's like old, really old thinking, or really just amateurish thinking, if anything. Like even back in the day, in the Shusaku period, Edo period, um, the different go houses back then, like the serious go groups, they were developing tricks against each other, basically. Like that's just they would keep it secret on purpose and then bring it to the important game. Like trick move is like there's a lot of moves that we play that are tricky for our opponent to respond to, right? That doesn't mean it's some kind of rude thing. It's just like, oh yeah, it's tricky. Good luck with that, right? uh, so there's plenty of confusing things in a game of Go that you could call those tricks just as easily as these. Now, um, the difference is that some of these tricks, if you foil it, it's really bad for the trickster, right? But what do you do when you're super behind in a game, right? You try to mess things up. You try to confuse your opponent, maybe. It's no different. So, um, okay, S15, yeah, Atari. And then nothing else to do but to take the 1 stone now, right? Yeah. So this does count as getting tricked, as you might guess. It's not the end of the world because at least you do have a fully alive corner and some, we'll call it Agi to work with on the outside, right? It's a bit more than just Agi, but uh, black probably plays another move, maybe capture with a net, and white could even get Sente in that case, but it's going to be good for black because the outside is going to be much more valuable than the small corner. And black is not locked into even playing here. They can play there or they can Tenuki depending on the situation. Um, Normally black wouldn't want white to press here, but in this case, even the cut can work. So white could also sacrifice, which would be kind of interesting. Or just, you know. But black doesn't need to give white that chance. So probably black plays something. Okay, so how to solve this? Well, we have the driving tesuji. So driving tesuji starts from here. It's a very, very general go technique. You lead them one way, basically towards their own stone. Like you lead black towards their own stone so that you can damage that stone. Like so. This is the punishment. Better for white. And the funny thing about this kind of result is many of you might be looking at this and still think that black seems better. Even when you're fairly strong too, even if you're 2Q, 1 dan, 2 dan, you might actually think still that black is better. But this is precisely the learning experience that gets you to think about that, and then eventually you start changing your mind. But probably not until you have some game experience. You know, when I was learning these tricks, I always made sure to use them in real games. I didn't just memorize and hope for the best. And that's something I think that's probably one of the things I did best out of all my Go studies back in the day, which is like making sure that I use everything in real games. I didn't seem to care that it might be messing up the game at hand, like giving me a chance to lose or something. I don't know what it was about me back then, but yeah, somehow I just because I think now I would be a bit more concerned about throwing games away. Maybe not. I mean, I guess not so much, but definitely back then, especially, I was like just constantly experimenting with things, and just no game was similar to the previous game. I've done everything, right? 3-5 variations, 4-5s, 5-5s. Um, you know, every trick move that I know. I've played every Joseki. Like back then, I memorized. I remember I counted. I memorized like 600 Joseki variations. And I was around. I think I was around Tudan by the time I got to that point. Um, I was spending a lot of time in those Ishida's, those 3 volumes of Joseki dictionaries, the green, blue, and red ones. I had a lot of time back then. I was in high school and stuff, so and I was focusing more on Go than school, to be honest. So I was just like I was just spending hours memorizing those. So you know, busier people can't memorize that many so quickly. But you know, if you go slow, like my recommendation for Joseki is make sure you fully have it. Like, don't move on until you've like don't try to fully master something, because that's also something like where you're gonna make yourself stuck on trying to fully understand something 100%. And like mm, it's like if you learn a new opening, if you learn Chinese opening, right? You don't need to learn it inside and out like perfectly before you use it. You should just play around, just try it, because we never play perfect games of Go anyways. But mm, yeah, like so every basically just play these in your real games. Don't try to just memorize, but then like not use it in real games. Yeah. And also don't stick to the same Joseki and the same openings, because you're really gonna like lose out on a lot of improvement, I think. Uh, Especially in all the Q levels, and even I think a lot of the Dan levels still, like it's really the time to gain as much variety of experience, not just as much experience, but also variety of experience, right? More openings, more Joseki. Just you're gonna understand Go like much better, and you're gonna have the power to um, solve these tricks and novel situations, any kind of novel board or Joseki situation. You'll be able to solve it much better when you have a much bigger toolbox and much more experience in like different situations, and knowing like you have Joseki results to compare to, like, oh yeah, this result that I'm thinking of from this certain Joseki is good for black. This one's good for white. Oh, like this one's good for the outside person because they have these because the corner is too small or whatever. This one's bad for the outside person because they have these 2 cutting points, like versus the person's 15 points of corner territory. You know, when you learn a lot of Joseki, you get good at recognizing like how many points in the corner would be fair in return for like what quality of an outside wall, that kind of thing. Like how many defects in a big wall on the outside would be the same value as like how many points in the corner. Um, you get good at yeah, telling between that. So I really do encourage like learning a lot of Joseki because it just helps you so much later, actually. But just make sure you do it right and use it in real games. So this is good for white. And in fact, there's still something left over in the corner here. Yeah, you can actually push here, exchange this once to reduce black's liberties down. And then, yeah, two-step, it's a, what would we call this? I guess that's a two-step co, you're right, yeah. Two-step means there's like 3 additional moves, yeah. I used to think we would call that three-step co, but then eventually I learned the definitions. But important thing is you understand it, yeah. So white has to play a lot of moves to finish this, but white also doesn't have to start this up like right away. And if black comes back anytime soon to play here, that's pretty slow, right? In the opening. No, I think you're right, it's 2. Um, but I always had thought that it was 3, but so we take once. Yeah, we take once. And then it would be a direct co if this were finishing it. Oh, does it mean it's a one-step co, actually? I guess it's a one-step co. Because this would be direct if it was done. But it's not done, so it needs one more step, so it's a one-step co. No, no, no. Well, according to Ryan Lee and Stephanie Yin, one step is not direct. So one step is the one that you and I are thinking of as 2 steps. That's very confusing, yes. Apparently, yeah. And actually, this isn't even step, it's stage. So there's step codes and stage codes. And stage codes, I believe, is when you're capturing repeatedly. Whereas steps is more like when you're filling liberties or like doing some other steps to continue the co. That's not capturing codes. So stage co is where we're capturing these codes. Yeah. So this is a one stage co. Yeah, it's very confusing, right? I don't know why it's 1 even though there's like 3 captures. And somehow it's called a one stage co, but oh well. uh, that's what they taught us at Go Camp. Like I already knew a lot of it obviously, but like I would have thought that this is a two-step co. But not only is it not 2 but 1 step, it's also 1 stage, not 1 step. So I didn't know these terms, right? I knew some terms, not all of them. Just like eternal co or whatever, eternal. I just know like 1,000-year co and a few others. Okay. Let's go back to trick number, where is it? Number 5. Yeah. So in this trick, there's 2 different moves black can play, the here or here, right? This one takes less for black, but prevents the ko from remaining in the corner. So now white doesn't have the liberties to do anything. But it's a smaller corner. And white also is going to be able to play like Hane or here to get a little bit of squeezing action in. So that's more good exchanges that white can get. And still, in terms of points, this corner is only like 3, 5, about like 12 guaranteed points. Like if white turns, then, in fact, actually, can white this? Here. But then black just connects, so okay, no big deal. But then this can happen. Oh, that's interesting. No, black just goes here, yeah. So so white would go here, and then it just proceeds normally. So okay, nothing special. I think there's nothing special. What about this one? Well, no, black just goes here, yeah. Okay, nothing special. So so white's just gonna reduce like so, and then it's gonna be 6, 8, Oh, it's 10, not 12, 10. Yeah. Very small, right? White's outside is clearly. See, that's the thing. If you study enough Joseki, then you would know that this is clearly worth more than 10 points, even though it doesn't have any points. Yeah. I would say that outside's worth at least close to 20. Like maybe less than 20, but hard to say. Maybe it is actually maybe it's worth at least around 20. It's pretty nice outside. Okay. Now let's move on to a similar one. It's going to be this one. So instead of Atariing this way, we have this Atari. So this is a weird one. And black pulls back. Where do you guys think white should play? I just recently used the 4-4 low approach, low pincer invasion. Ah, that one, the trick. Yeah, you've gotten good at that one. Yeah, do you guys have any ideas here for white? Maybe there should be no, well, there is passing because you guys are always welcome not to participate in the chatting, but um, I think it's good to try to guess because then you can contrast it with your answer, the correct answer with yours. Just like how you should review before you use any AI if you're going to use AI, because if you don't review yourself first, then you don't have anything to contrast with, really. E? Okay. B. Okay. B. Okay, so let's take a look. If, um, let's say we play here. This one, I wouldn't say it's the worst out of them, so that's good. This one has one big advantage, which is it guarantees one eye. The downsides it has is um, black can still force here, and let's say you play here, then black can peep, and white only has one eye. So that is one disadvantage here. Or maybe white plays from this side, and then black Ataris. But still, yeah, white only has one eye. Here, then again, black can force, and then black can play here and attack the entire white shape. So this is also getting tricked. Same thing with this one. With this one, black shouldn't go here because it gives white the ability to play there. But before playing here, black can force here. And again, if white switches to the corner, black can pull back this one stone. And even if white lives in the corner, the outside's very good for black. Yeah, black can just play like maybe here or just anything on the outside to help, probably to help the top side. And then white can go out, but black can just attack. So should be good for black because the corner is too small. And the outside is clearly better for black. So some of the ways to solve this, like same with this one, black's just gonna pull this back and it's good for black. You can't wedge even because of losing two stones. So here's a simple solution is to just play here. Black is still able to force here, but at least this time white has two eyes. This is going to end up a bit better for white already. So it is one way to solve the trick. Another way, as Luke said, is to, as Luke and Rach both said, I think. Let's see, Rach said E. Ah, so that was, wait, that was, oh, that was the same as, okay. So Luke said B. Yeah, this is one of the ways to solve. In fact, if you check AI, AI's top move is this one in most cases, I think, but this is another way to get a good result too. If black responds, then white can just take the corner here, and white has a pretty decently big corner position with no problems, while black has two weak groups. So this is going to be good for white. In fact, even if black forces here and white chooses to respond, it's still acceptable for white because it's similar to this result, which has two eyes. But there's another option for for white too. Is white can also ignore this to Hane and give up 2 stones and then Atari. And this is still going to be pretty good for white usually because black's corner is only about 7 plus 5 is 12 points. And white gets a very strong position. Yeah, Luke is doing well with these trick move refutations. So in conclusion, the way to solve this is with F or B. Yeah. There's one very famous trick sequence from here that I forgot to show in the class time. So black plays this common pincer, white presses, and usually here black would cut. And for example, these days you'd probably see something like this, AI variation, and then it's finished. Or you could have black playing this older move here, and then white plays here and gives black some trouble there, and it's pretty complicated. There's also the classic move here. Black can push through, something like this, and just get points on each side. Or black jumps down, white fixes this, and black connects under. After white pushes through a few times, black connects under. White needs to make sure black doesn't Atari white here and make them a big lump, but first white Ataris. Normally you would think about saving this kind of Aji for, you know, something happening here later, but white knows that they're about to sacrifice this by playing out the Liberty fight on this side, so they play here to get an additional forcing move for later by giving the dead stone more liberties. So before white does that though, to avoid getting Atari'd here like this, white pushes once, and after that white starts playing the Liberty fight moves. This move prevents black from getting an eye, and this move prevents white from playing a move like that to fully squeeze black with an additional 2 points in the corner. Any move trying to resist could result in ko. For example, after this, if black just takes, then black would be dead. So this would end up being a ko. So black can't really push or resist, but just has to connect here. And then white would get all these forcing moves. And compared to black playing this tesuji response here, white would have gotten an additional 2 points. So now white goes here, Ataris, and then S19 is now just more of a co-threat. So white plays over on this side, and then black can push, white can jump, and that's the sequence. Usually preferred for white though. The trick move is to jump all the way to here. Obviously white wants to push through, and after this, if white just keeps cutting, black is going to push, cut, white's gonna avoid getting squeezed by Ataring once here, then go after the corner. After black forces once here, black can play this push as an asking move. White usually blocks, and yeah, black can force here, cut and squeeze, and then make a big net here, and something like this. Yeah, so I've seen somewhere that this is called the 19-point trick play. Pretty sure it's 18 points though. That's what I remembered from way back in my first couple of years of Go. Way back in 2007, 2008 maybe when I learned this. And if we count, there is 7 points here. There's 11 points here, but white has to fill in one more time, so it's really 10. So it's 17 plus the 1 point that white captured here, so it's 18, right? I'm not really seeing where the 19 is, but yeah. The point here is that black's wall is actually much better than all that territory white got. It's extremely strong and really big along both sides with absolutely no weaknesses, and black even has Sente, and black even has a forcing move here later, which for now black would save it for a co-threat. In fact, black is likely to even save this one as well. Or blocking here and then saving this one. White's classic way of thwarting black's plan is simple. Just jump here to fix the cut. Black then plays here, which is an efficient way to connect the stones on the top while getting some of the corner. And then white just presses here, and then something like this might happen. And maybe it continues like this. This is good enough for white in most cases. And if you look at black's corner, they really only got about 4 points there so far, or maybe 5 or 6. It's not really that much. This is the trick move. Have you guys ever encountered this before? This is the classic. You know, I've had this played against me in a real game before. Yeah. I think most most players who A have played Go for a long time and B have progressed through enough of the levels, like let's say our Dan level or close to Dan level, would have experienced this, I think, if they played Go for a really long time. It's quick, yeah. So, the natural move to think of here is to play the 3-3, right? White's plan here is to push in a seemingly futile way. And probably we block, right? And then push again and block again. What do you think? Is this how it would go for you as black? I imagine for most of us, you know, it would go like this, right? And we think white's just dead. So white's best moves here are clamps, like so. Black should go down, if they want to capture white at least. Maybe black can consider this and like pressing. Yeah, that one might be possible. So let's see. If white has any stones around on the right side, then white's gonna survive easily. But supposing white pushes, then black can try to Hane, but there is gonna be a lot of problems. Like there's still the same thing on the other side. And depending on how that goes, it could affect the way that this part goes. And black looks like they're gonna be in quite a lot of trouble here. Like black's about to lose a group. So black would probably keep extending, and then white's gonna just end up living. Maybe something like this, and maybe somewhere along the way, maybe they do some more annoying moves on this side. So if white can get enough annoying moves on this side too, then maybe it could be okay for white. White would be very flat, but white would have Sente to play some stuff over here. But I imagine that even just connecting here, it's probably okay for black, to be honest. But normally black plays like this, and then white can clamp again, and then start peeping everything like this. So what do we notice right now about the situation? What would you guys be thinking about here, just in terms of the state of the groups? And honestly, even this trick, I would say go ahead and play it in a real game if you would like to. There's nothing wrong with that, honestly. I think anyone who thinks that there's something wrong with that, it just seems like I don't know if it's old fashioned or if it's closed minded or something, but I think it's a common, but I think it's a bit of a wrong is the right word, but it's a bit of an extreme view, I think, to say that somehow someone's being rude if they play these things. Okay, liberties. And how is black doing for survival right now? Black can always go out. And which color do you guys prefer? Who would you like to play right now? Just one eye, that's right. Yeah, this is actually only one eye, which might not be so obvious, but like even if black plays here, white can make that shape, and this is going to be um It's not even Seki because like even if black played here or um here, that's going to be a dead shape. But even if black tries to play nothing, eventually when the liberties are filled on the outside, black would Atari everything with this. So black needs to end up with a move here, which means it's a dead shape. Yeah, so one of the best ways for white to continue is just to extend one of these sides. And the point here is that black kind of has to run out. And so white is going to start trying to benefit by making black play moves that are not worth any points. White also is not getting much in the way of points, but if white plays really well, then black also doesn't have that big of a corner, so they might be able to rack up enough benefit on this side and this side to make up for those points. But still, white has to play well, I think, to make sure everything's okay, because there's still almost 0 points here. But yeah, this counts as black getting tricked. Maybe white can even think about this kind of move, but like purposely getting cut through, basically. In this case, I imagine white would block and block. Yeah. Black has to make sure they don't run out of liberties. So black's gonna start cutting. Black has to figure out where they cut. Let's say like this, and can black go here? This is interesting because if black pushes down, there is this throwing in stuff here. So white's in some trouble here. So this is not so easy actually for white to play either. Yeah. So that kind of tells me actually that white can't even play it up to here. Just looking at it, right? I'm looking at it kind of fresh, just like you guys, but I'm not seeing a way here actually for white, because at this exact moment, black can throw in. If black just Hanes, then that would be a disaster because Atari, and then black is in a ladder. But as long as black throws in at this exact moment, then white is kind of destroyed here. So I suppose white can't even play this variation. They would have to extend again and then let black take some stuff on the side. Yeah. So maybe this move's out of the question. Actually, Sensei's library shows this move, mentions this move as being maybe possible, but at least someone there says so, but it doesn't. I know for a fact that I've played before, and I've even tried this as white. Because I knew that sometimes if you let black rip through with these kinds of moves, sometimes all the exchanges black has to make to capture stuff ends up good for white. Like up to here, maybe you just squeeze like that, and maybe you get enough outside with that it makes it okay for white. But if the Atari here though, I honestly don't know how white can continue this. Yeah, it seems good for black. Probably white has to extend here, but seems good for black, to be honest. Okay, so some of the main ways to foil this trick. So the main way is to play here. Change it on this side. Now, if they clamp, this time if they peep, they're actually kind of helping black because now white's whole corner is dead. And because white peeped here, like if this is connected, then this can never be Atari, right? Against black. Like this is Atari. Like if this happened and black blocked, at least this would be Atari. And then there could be something to do with this cut, right? But once white peeps here, then black is 100% connected on the other side. So this peep's not that useful, and therefore this clamp's not that useful. So black can, so white can extend, and then, or sorry, white can attach. If white extends, white's dead because black just blocks, and this is not a enough space in the corner. So white attaches, black blocks, white descends, black fixes because there's too many problems here. And then white lives, or possibly bothers black first a bit on this side and then lives. But this is good for black because white only has 4 points and black has the whole outside. We can kind of agree that this is good for black, right? The corner is just too small. It's only 4 points, or actually 5 points. 5 points is not enough considering it's also gote. And black, although the wall is not perfect, black gets to block off both sides. Knight's jump, yeah, for talking about this situation. Yeah, some kind of knight's jump, that's right. That one, then you can hope that black plays something like this, which would be a lot of bad exchanges. Or they cut directly, but still, maybe we can just do that. Or maybe we even do this. Let them break out. Something like that. Yes. Seems better, yeah. So this is the main way to punish. Just follow white up to here, and then, instead of blocking, play this diagonal. Now, there's also a way to compromise, but it might be a bit too generous, but you could just block one of the sides like this, let white play the big knight's move, and, for example, just push a few times and extend. This is one way to play that also looks okay for black. Because, you know, white's getting points, but it's really only about 9 points. And black has a nice outside. So even here, black might be a bit better, or at least equal. Also, yeah, because white's 2-2 move at the end just seems a bit maybe early, maybe even a bit far. Like, yeah, but what else? Oh, and one more way is to tenuki. Honestly, whenever your opponent plays on the second line in the opening, like not as part of a sequence that's necessary, but just directly on the second line, then you can ignore it. Really, like let's say it goes like this, this, you know, you do something and your opponent suddenly plays here, then just ignore it. That's also one of the best punishments. So I'll even put that as like just ignore second line move can be a great punishment too. Yeah, because what's white gonna do? Basically, even if they play another move that makes your stone awkward, the point is that if they had played R15 first, the next move would not have been this. It would have been like pushing in or something. And black has ways even to make this like black could keep it like probably doesn't keep ignoring, but black could push along and do something similar to what we saw before, or even just Tanuki again now. Black also can start cutting, like there's this kind of move, for example, to trade like this and make a ladder. And if the ladder works for black, it's even locally looking pretty good for black, maybe better for black, even though black's the one who ignored. You could also push and accomplish it that way. Push and do one of these cuts. Probably this one, because if you cut here, I think white's Ponuki on the outside is going to be better than the corner since we can't even cleanly take the corner. Like if you go here, white can cut. If you go here, white can still take it, go in. So seems like we need to wedge. That's the kind of thing you need to read in your games, right? You can't just blindly cut. You have to figure out which is better between these two moves. Yeah. So second line move, just ignore it. You know, same thing with this kind of move. Just ignore it. Yeah. Same thing with, you know, if your opponent starts with a move like something like this, just ignore it. Because if you just ignore it and just kind of do your own thing, or let's say like this and then whatever, right? If you just leave it be, like you play here or you play here, whatever, there's no move in that corner to make black efficient. Like if black comes back to the upper left, how do they even play? You know, if they play here, then it looks like, let me set it up with a 3-4 corner. So if they play here, it looks like this corner, except it's like they slid it down by one space. Like they pushed it down closer to the edge compared to this one. So it's worse. Because that's like here and here instead of how it should be. So that's just worse. If they close the corner, then it looks really bizarre too. It looks like they had a 3-4 point, and then they closed it here instead of here. So there's just no way to add a stone to that corner and make it efficient. Therefore, white shouldn't even go in. White should just leave it, and at least wait until much later to go in. So yeah, that's how you can deal with that. Now, let's move on to, let's see, what's trick number 2? Yeah. So trick number 2 is a very specific one, but the kind of shape that comes up a lot, right? Your opponent has some kind of star point here and knight's move. The knight's move could come first as well, but the point is that they have a 3-space high extension and a 4-4 knight's move corner. You guys must have had plenty of games containing this position. The trick here is that white plays on the 4th line like this. Now, when black connects under, if white just makes a wall, that's not going to be good for white. That's going to be giving away points for a very heavy and like a very forceful or a very forced way of trying to make a wall on the outside. It's not good for white. But the point is something else. So the point is like this. They attach here now. Most people would probably block here. And then the trick comes from this move. Yeah, because after this move, Atari, then wedge, and black has to play one of these moves to save the stones. And if black plays here, then there's going to be problems. For example, in the corner, white can play like this, and as black is dealing with this group, eventually white's going to get the chance to do something along the lines of pulling this out. And let's say black tries to take, then Atari and capture. Or even if black plays like this, assuming that white's already okay on this side, which they should be because black's the one who has to help their group there. And there's no clear way to capture these stones just yet, usually. So even if white just kept crawling, it's really sad for black, and black has to be very careful with their liberties because of the throw-ins here. So this is black getting tricked, and same thing for this side. White can Atari, throw in Atari, and then just pull this out. And then it's a very bad situation for black. Black would have to push, and at this point, I suppose white just turns, prompting black to take these. And then white can just take the outside. So like one more move around here. And black's only getting 6 points, so it's good for white. So this is something that you can also try against your opponents in a real game. Your opponent would probably be happy to play here, but it is a bit of a naive trick though, I will say, because there's many ways to foil it. First of all, there's no reason why black has to play here. First of all, they could play here, and then it's a trade of corner for like not even side yet, right? So it's good for black even if black just plays there. Another thing is like maybe they even counterattack like this and try to do like a leaning attack, right? Okay. And even once the trick starts up, for example, black could choose to play here now. Then when white pushes through, black can also extend, and this can be fightable for black because white has 2 weak groups. And in order to escape with this group, white has to mess up the top white group. So that's one way. And even as late into the sequence as here, black can double Atari. Double Atari and squeeze and connect. This is a compromised result that I think in many cases would still be pretty good for black because black is getting so strong on the outside. This part can still be captured. This part is still vulnerable. And this stone is weak, so it's pretty good looking for black still. That's one trick that, yeah, you guys can play around with if you like. That's another technique though, like the way that you combine these Ataris, it's a go skill also to, prepare this kind of thing. Okay, next trick is going to be, let's see, trick 4, is it? Yeah. Oh, trick 3? Okay, let's do that one. Oh, it's trick 4. Yeah, trick 4. Okay, have you guys ever experienced, so low pincer, B4, high approach, low pincer. Have you ever experienced this bump from black? Yeah. So you got a block, right? And then after black cuts, and yeah, what should white do? White to play. This move isn't even really a trick move. It's pretty legitimate. It's not so popular, the bumping move, but it can turn into something acceptable. U18. Yes. Hane the head of 2 stones, right? Okay, now how about black next? Block or something else? R18? Ooh. Okay, R18. I guess we take. What is your plan? I suppose Atari? That's an interesting one. Hmm. How to play. Too many defects. I wonder if it's okay for white to just take at that point, because that makes white alive in the corner. I think the cut, I was thinking of like how to deal with Rach's move, because it does change things. Like, do I just extend anyway? Uh, then black would take, and then white has to help the corner, or white would sacrifice at this point. But it seems actually a bit good for black this time. The corner is quite nice. This looks like the first Joseki, the first trick that we looked at, right? Or was it the second? I think it's the first one, yeah. It looks like this one. Um, kind of looks like that, right? But this time, the corner looks a bit too good. Yeah, but if white just takes, though, then black would want to fix this. But then when white extends, black has to save this, but then white can... white's actually already alive in the corner, which I think is a slight problem for black, because now white can start doing stuff on this side. Uh, if you compare to like the stone being just like this, then this is different, because now white's dead in the corner, and all black has to do is escape. And that's going to take us to one of the variations. So yeah, if black just tanes, white could simply, uh, well, if white simply connects, then black can also connect, and if white tries to go out, this move kills white's corner. This becomes just a dead corner. So white can try to play something here, but black can get out like this. If white tries to take 1 stone, then black can Atari and either capture everything like this, or even just break out like this. Anyway, the corner's dead. And if white lives like this, then black just easily handles the outside fight, and it's pretty good for black because the corner's pretty small. Corner is like 5 points. And white has a better punishment than this. So it's going to be this Atari actually, which is really interesting because in this shape with the black stone at R13, normally we wouldn't do this because it leads to black Atariing and then capturing these two stones, right? Normally in this kind of shape, um, normally in this kind of shape, a knight's move approach like this is essentially a peep against that shape because of this cut working. So it's like a peep without being a peep. You know, it's like if we have this kind of shape, then white can go here because if black, let's say pincers or tanukis, then this cut actually works. Yeah, as opposed to without that stone, then white has nothing to do. But if there was already a stone there, then obviously white would just take this. So white purposely plays this while it's not working because white knows that when black exchanges this to capture these, white can then go here. And this result is good for white because white got most of the corner plus a seemingly equal looking result compared to black. So it's good for white. Yeah, this is the classic way to punish. So after white hanes and black tries to block, white just ataris and pushes through. That's the punishment. Yeah. What white should do instead, what black should do instead is atari this way. White extends once to get more value from sacrificing if they're going to sacrifice. If black connects, white's happy to just do some forcing move like this and fix with one of these moves. And then black takes, but then black is inefficient. White's going to have two peeps, and black is just going to be like a kind of a box that's not very efficient. So if you imagine it like this, and white even has sente. Yeah, most of these, all of these variations today that I'm sharing that are from normal Joseki, like, you know, not necessarily the 2-2 thing, but the ones that are from like this Joseki, for example, you guys should memorize, like, honestly, all of them because it can be useful and you can use it in real games to have some fun, but also, um, where is it? But also just to learn the techniques as well. Hang on, I have to go back to the variation. Trick 5 was it? 6? Oh no, we're on trick 4. Okay. Yeah. So black should Atari here. And not even block. Block is going to be inefficient, so go down. This is a big points difference between the two, between white and black. Going here is a big difference compared to playing at R14. So at this point, white is going to extend. Yeah, extend. And then when black jumps, I mean, if black connects here, then white has even more space. Like they can move out and they can even try to fight. So that's just a different game. Um, but if black jumps here, which is trying to flatten white out, white has a tesuji for this situation. Do you guys want to guess what that is? Black is trying to press white down and pretty much threaten white. Meanwhile, you know, paying attention to these two stones too for later on. What would you guys play? Would you push? Would you play in the corner? Would you play something fancy? Maybe push and cut? The clamp at O15. O15. Yeah, this one I kind of just threw it there as like a fancy looking thing, but um uh yeah, it's probably not gonna work too well. Now I haven't thought about it too much. I imagine maybe black just goes here, and after white Ataris, black starts to try to capture the corner. Um, maybe clamp. White can push out, but black jumps. Should be good for black anyway. Not sure exactly how the variation would go though. Maybe black pushes here, I'm not sure. But the tesuji is actually this one. This is a cool one. This is like really, really good to know. The more you see this kind of move, the more you can get a sense of when it would work, like the visual cue, and you can use it even when it's not Joseki, right? Like when like players around 5 den plus or even less than that, like let's say 2 den plus, they can play this kind of move. They can come up with this kind of move even when it's not part of the Joseki they're playing at because they've seen it enough. Yeah. So white tries. So the only way for white to suffer here is this move, right? But then black can push and cut now, or white can push and cut now. And as you might be able to tell from looking at it long enough, it looks like one of the two black groups is gonna get captured. At this point, it seems like even if white were to get captured here, it'd be good for white. So black has to pull back, and then white's able to connect. So now it's much better than pushing along. And then at this point, black can cut to get some squeezing. So we know that these two black groups connecting is something white wants to avoid because that would be way too efficient and it would make these two white stones meaningless. So black cuts to get the squeeze here. It's better than clamping because if you clamp and white connects, then none of these extra moves are sent anymore, which means later white's going to be able to push into it. So better to cut. White can't go down after all. So cut, squeeze, and actually once black cuts, white's going to force here first. Yeah, and then do that. And then at this point, a black can, for example, push once and then play here. But white's corner is like pretty solid. And there's still some agi from these two stones, like at least pushing here would be Sente. So it's pretty good for, it's pretty okay for white. I think white has a better score here. Yeah. But it's close enough. But the point is that like this black move in the first place loses a little bit in most cases because it's just it's not really a top move, so to speak. But it's an interesting one and you don't lose much, so I recommend playing around with it. I think many of your opponents will play this wrong. Like, for example, you could try this to see if they know the trick. They usually wouldn't, unless they study these things a lot. And if they play something like this, then it's gonna be good for black. If they go here, they're gonna get captured in the corner. Okay. Now, let's try to fit in a bit more. I wanna see if we can get through whatever was left. Let me just check my list. I think we went through almost everything actually, but I feel like there was something else. Was that really everything? Wow, we actually got through everything. There's a lot more trick moves than those, obviously, but wow, we might have actually gotten through everything. Yeah, I didn't do the best job of setting up the file, so I'll do that better next time. I think for this one, I'm actually gonna remake the file probably, so that you guys can look at something a bit cleaner. We will see. As long as I don't get too swamped. I am I do have a lot going on today, and then tomorrow we have the 12-hour patron appreciation stream, by the way. So tomorrow, if you guys show up to my stream anytime within the 12 hours, you can get play and review sessions with me just kind of all day. And you can get repeats too, as long as we kind of go in order with everyone who wants it. So it's patrons only. I'm going to advertise a bit today. See if anyone wants to sign up to Patreon before tomorrow. So yeah, that's tomorrow, 12 to 12. I also have an AYD match very soon. I have it at 3 p.m. Yeah, which I'm going to announce in a sec. So looks like we actually got through everything. Wow. Could have sworn there was more. And there's also, as you might remember from earlier in the session, there's even some regular Joseki knowledge that I included. So there's going to be some stuff you guys will want to come back and review. I think the file isn't too bad, even if I'll try to come back to it and to make a better one. But if you focus on the variations that I actually posted into chat, and then only dig through the tree when you like feel like it, shouldn't be too bad. Even Joseki wise, outside of the trick variations, I also posted some variations like yeah, like this stuff, this 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 thing, this one, yeah. So lots of one space low pincer stuff. I studied the one space low pincer a lot while I was in Korea, because back in 2009, this move was popular. And this, in some my friends in Korea and back in Toronto, this came to be known as the bencer. The bencer instead of a pincer, it's a bencer, because I just would play it constantly. It was like my favorite move for a while, and so people started calling it the bencer. Pretty funny. Yeah, there's a lot to study actually. Like there was a lot to study with this, and with this one, like there's this peeping and this kind of move, and different timings of like, if you do this one before this, then black helps the heavier group, versus like if you go here directly, then black helps this group, and then treats this one stone lightly and plays here. Since we haven't connected this yet, because if you connect it, then you get attacked, which is easier for white to do when they have this center stone. Yeah, so it's like there's a lot of stuff there, and then there's like this timing of peeping once here and then attaching here, and then yeah, and then this happened, and then white made a squeeze here, and then cut, and then there was like this, what was it? I guess it was like this. Oops. Oh yeah, it's like this. Yeah, there was so much to actually. I think we're even missing a move, but there was so much to study with this. And like this move and this, which is also related to that peep, and then it's this one as well as this one and cut. Oh man, there's so many things. Uh, and even like after this, there's a bunch of stuff that happens here. There's some cutting stuff that happens here. And like here, and then peep, connect under. Yeah, I learned the like I learned everything about the low pincer. So this was my favorite move a long time ago. So you can see there's a lot of tricks with this low pincer, right? So I actually encourage you guys to play around with it. Even though there's some cases where even more AI wants to play it, and I usually guess it correctly in most cases, where when there's enough of like a black wall around here, like a big potential here, then you know AI doesn't always want to attach here, right? If the right side's amazing potential for black, then why would you want to send white onto that side, right? So even when you play this just indiscriminately, you don't lose much anyway. Like the whole AI trendiness thing, like if we plug this into AI right now, like I can check for you guys real quick here. I'll just do that before we finish. I'll just do that really quickly. So here, And I guess we'll make white have the 3/4 point so we can have black. So white does a 1 space low pincer. How much do they lose on move 5? They lose half a point. See, it's fine. Half a point. I lose half a point. Like sometimes AI docks me half a point just from playing 2, 3, 4 points. Like literally just from setting up my opening like this, and then maybe like playing here. I think I already lose at least that much, which is like crazy, right? Let me even check that. Let's see, what is Black's score here? Black's, and I play this every time as Black, and I've seen professionals do it. Like it doesn't matter. Yeah, the score is okay. So I've lost 0.3 points in total here. So I guess it's a bit less than I thought, but yeah, it doesn't matter. So like even losing almost a point, or in some cases more than a point, depending on the position, like just play what you like. So I would honestly encourage you guys to yeah, to go ahead and learn the variations from this, like attaching and like if they hane, and learn the main variations as well as some of the tricks to get those memorized. Learn this and learn this. And you'll have a lot of fun with this pincer, I think, because your opponents, like you're doing nothing wrong, but also your opponents are going to respond to it wrong in so many ways. Yeah. Like, for example, here, depending on the level of them, they might not know that they need to go here. They might jump, which is going to be bad for them. Because they don't have as... I think it's usually bad for them. Yeah. I mean, AI changes things now, but it's at least not bad for black. Or they might attach here, which is super bad for white because it makes black so strong. And still black can peep, and then black can just take everything. What else? Or like when you play here, they might mistakenly hane, and then you do this, and then they get wrecked. And you can have fun with this one. You can have fun with the tricks. So yeah, it gives you a lot of choice too, right? Because even at this moment, you can choose to play here to switch to focus on the right side of the board, or you can play here or here to focus on the top side of the board and get the right and the top. You have a lot of freedom. Just recently started to play these pincers, yeah. So, since there's a lot of variations about this pincer shared, trick or not, in this file, it's a good time for you guys to practice it. And even for the other study group files that you guys have already have access to, there's at least one file that is like very thorough with this pincer. It shows a lot of those variations, like what if white goes here as the first move, or even this move, which used to be Joseki. Like there's a bunch of stuff from here, or pincering like this. And then of course these variations. So like from here, from here, from here, from here. So if you want more of those like non-trick Joseki, like this one and all that different stuff, refer to that other file, which you can find pinned in the study group channel. Okay, that's gonna be it. Yeah. So I will see you guys in a bit. If anyone's around for watching stuff or whatever, then I have an AYD match in half an hour. So yeah, sometimes they do Saturdays. So usually once a month, it's on a Saturday at 3 p.m. And so that's today. All right. See you guys later. Yeah. Bye-bye.